I have a bunch of tests lined up and one of them is going to cost you $1 million in 12 months. Just don't do it right now. Do it when you're at a $100 million level or $50 million level, but don't do it today. Today, you want a test that you can run for $5,000 and you can run it within a week and call it a day. Call it a success or a failure, and then you can scale it. In a lot of cases, that's just about testing new ads, testing new ad platforms, testing new hypotheses, where hypotheses stand for a mixture of market, media, and message. This is a hypothesis right here. This is a marketing hypothesis. Who am I talking to? What am I saying to them? And how am I going to reach them? That combination right there is a marketing hypothesis. All you want to do is you want to test those hypotheses very quickly, because on the supply side, your constraints are kind of self-evident. You already know you're having problems with 3PLs, so you just diversify across 3 to 4 3PLs. You already know. So for instance, one of my clients, okay, this is a map of USA. Let me draw a very rough map of the US. Okay, this is the US. Their 3PL is located over here. So the customers in this zone, they're happy. The customers in this zone, they're not so happy because the delivery takes like 4 to 5 days. So what do? Well, you get a second 3PL right here. Create a system around that. So now these customers are also serviced within 2 days, 2 to 3 days instead of 5 to 6 days. The supply constraints are self-evident. You build systems around those. You just focus on what's taking too much time, what's causing too much friction, and you build systems around those. It's the demand constraints that you really have to fight against. So you need to systemize how to test these hypotheses quickly and cheaply. Right here. Your opportunity cost is very low on these. If you spend $5,000 on an ad campaign, another $5,000 on media, that's $10,000. You spend it over a month. What's the worst that can happen? You don't break even on that, fine. You still got some new customers. You'll probably break even on the long term. At least you have tested something. But for like $200,000, you can test 20 of those ideas, and you can even go cheaper than that. You can test this for $5,000 per campaign or even $3,000 per campaign. Now for $200,000, you can test 70 different campaigns, 70 different hypotheses, and a few of them are likely to succeed and scale from where you are to the next level. And remember, you're not just testing the market or who you're targeting. You're not just testing the message or what you're saying to them, what's in it for them. You're also testing how you reach them, different online sources, different offline sources. We talked about this book called Traction, which lists a lot of sources, but look at all the different sources that everyone is using, not just inside your industry, but the great breakthroughs are probably going to come from outside your industry. So maybe no one in your industry is using direct mail. You should be. No one's using postcards. You should be. No one's using magazines. You should be. No one's hiring celebrities. You should be. Okay. And that it does sound more expensive than it really is. Sometimes it sounds like you're going to have to spend millions of dollars to hire an A-list celebrity. The thing is, you don't have to hire an A-list celebrity. You can hire someone who used to be an A-list celebrity for much lower price points. You can do brand deals, partnership deals, joint venture deals with celebrities who are kind of famous and aligned with your brand values or your product values, and you can do a partnership with them. There are a lot of ways to structure this, and we'll probably talk about that in another episode, and we do talk about that in depth in the Ultimate Business Growth Mind Map, because here's what happens when you tap into the celebrity. You also get credibility. You're borrowing the credibility of that celebrity, right? You're not just getting visibility, you're also getting credibility. Now use that credibility to align your brand to the values that you're trying to portray with respect to that celebrity, and that just short circuits your proof element. Remember, we talk about marketing all the time. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, right here. So with the celebrity, you have a scroll stop. You get the attention immediately. You already have a problem that you're dealing with. The customers are already dealing with a problem that's unavoidable. So you already have that, presumably. You already have a unique solution that you're providing. So you already have that, presumably. The hardest thing right here is unquestionable proof. And celebrity just adds another layer of proof to that product or your service or your offer being able to solve the problems that people have, right? To your solution being actually applicable, as well as valid, as well as reasonably trustworthy for this particular problem. And finally, you have an undeniable proposition, which is something that we talk about in conversion cycles. We talk about all of this stuff in the Ultimate Business Growth Mind Map, by the way, which we're going to relaunch soon as a revised version. But I just wanted to give you a quick preview of what happens in there. So that brings us to the end of today's stream. My name is Lakshya Behl. I hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. This is Bell's Business Broadcast, as much as I enjoyed producing it for you. And remember, you are the greatest bottleneck holding yourself back from the next level. And your biggest obstacle, the one thing that you're waiting to solve, once things align, once the ducks are lined up, that's the thing that you need to do right now. Get it done dirty, get it done messy, but get it done. Get the needle moving on that, because that's the thing that's going to move the needle on everything in your business. And the other thing that we kept talking about today was look at the time logs of where you're spending most of your time and where your employees are spending most of their time, because that is where the highest leverage is going to come from. Why? Because you can automate most of that stuff, you can systemize most of that stuff, and you should. And regardless of the macro environment, the one thing that you can always control is your own business and how you handle the problems within your business. Remember, the total addressable market might shrink a little bit, but the market remains no matter what happens to the macro world, as we are seeing right now. Consumer spending is at an all-time high. People spend so much money online on Black Friday, and yet a lot of drop shippers and Shopify people were talking about or complaining about how this Black Friday Cyber Monday was not quite as bombastic or as massive as it normally is. Cat decides what milk is good, and your customers decide whether your pricing is right, whether your product is right or not, whether your messaging is effective or not. You cannot predict that. The only thing you can do is compress your learning cycles and test fast and test cheaply. And when tests work out, scale them, because remember, truth is a moving target and success is a moving target. You're not always going to be able to attribute success or truth accurately to what you did. You just know what's working right now and what doesn't work today. And that's all that you can know. What's working right now may not work tomorrow. What worked yesterday may not work today. So you have to be constantly adaptable. And that is what debottlenecking is all about. My name is Lakshya Behl. This is Bell's Business Broadcast. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.